Coming to you from Austin, Texas on this dark and stormy night, post F&M, it's Color Commentary, and we are Michael Petchek.
And Adrian Garzales, and we're coming here tonight because, well, we like Eternal Masters a lot, and we had to do an episode real fast.
We kind of had to get this out. We almost, Adrian's going to be out of town this weekend, so, you know, we usually record Sundays, but we almost recorded Wednesday, which I think, in retrospect, would have been a huge mistake, because we got a lot of spoilers to go through. We're going to do a quick F&M recap before this, but I think this is mostly just going to be a set review, us kind of talking through the new cards we've got, a little bit of the reprints.
You submitted a deck. Sorry.
We will get to it. Don't worry. This is just a one-time set review, bumps everything out of the way, just because... I'm going to curse during this episode. Holy shit, I am happy about this set.
Yeah, we are pretty blown away by this set, but first F&M, let's be patient here. I played Affinity. I went 3-1.
I played Mono Red. I went 1-2 drop because
Mike.
I don't know, bad matchups. That's life, you know. Had some good games though. That's what's important. Like even though my record wasn't good enough to money, I had good games. I got a little bit more experience with the deck, but you know, that's about all of it.
Can't win them all, I guess.
Yeah. So EMA, which you know people in the Legacy community might not be super pumped with, but Popper pretty much decided that we got a blessing here.
Big fat I don't care. This set is amazing for Popper. We have reprints out the wazoo. We have all these powerful downshifts. I think the format is going to change a lot after this set comes out. I'm not kidding.
I don't think we're going to see like wholly new archetypes, although we will get to the one that's coming back that took a little bit of a break, but I think a lot of these things are interesting effects that we haven't had access to yet at the Popper level.
Correct.
And, you know, I think that the more diverse the format is, the more interesting it is. And a lot of these cards are also older cards where, you know, the power level now is that of a common. Like, creatures have gotten a lot better. Like, I remember when I took a long break from Magic, and the first card someone showed me when I came back was Vampire Nighthawk. And I left around Mirrodin or so. So coming back and being like, 3 mana 2/3 with multiple like keyword abilities. At uncommon, I was like, whoa. So yeah, creatures have changed a lot. But
I mean, there's only one ATOG though, am I right?
Yes, there is actually,
there's actually a lot of ATOG.
That's patently false.
There's only two good ATOGs.
Yes.
You know who they are. They're Psychotog and ATOG.
Yeah.
But not a Togatog.
Chronotog used to be a thing.
Yeah.
I heard tell of it. It's like a stasis lock thing.
Tale of a long and distant time in which infinite turns were taken.
No. It's the fact that you take no turns. So you never have to pay for stasis. But,
that sounds miserable.
Yes. Magic has definitely improved in terms of playability. But I think we're going to tackle the downshifts first, because these are kind of the uncharted territory. Like, reprints are great and all, but...
And where are these all downshifts that we have in front of us, Mike?
Yes, they are. So, our first on the list is actually... So, last time we talked about wanting some sort of cheap white removal. We got Humble. Humble is 1 and a white, instant until end of turn. Target creature loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 0/1.
Now, that's interesting. Isn't this like a quasi-humility effect, but without...
Yes.
But without the permanence? It's Turn to Frog.
Yeah.
And white.
It's a white Turn to Frog. I think white likes this a lot.
Dude, it makes all of your Squadron Hawks able to kill Gurmag Anglers. I think they like it a lot.
Yes. The interesting case I saw people talking about already is against Delver Fiend. What point do you play this to stop the Temur Battle Rage from being lethal?
You play it after the Temur Battle Rage has resolved.
Yeah.
Because that way you blink the Double Strike.
Yes, blink and the Trample.
Right, because it causes it to lose all of its abilities. I'm actually thinking, this isn't a bad card to play against like a... I don't know. I want to say there's a time you could play this against ATOG. I don't really know exactly when. But heck, maybe even I like this card in Affinity.
You could, out of desperation, Humble on Upkeep.
Yeah,
and unless they have the Fling in hand and lethal on board, they can't combo out that turn.
But you're right, that's not very good.
Yeah, because the big thing is, even in the example of the Kiln Fiend still has all its bonuses from the spells.
Yeah.
it just loses those abilities and loses 1 power and 1 toughness. So it does mean, again,
you can block it.
Yeah, you can block it with a Squadron Hawk, and it's fine. So I think this is going to be great. Want to go to our next one here?
Another great white weenie card, Elite Vanguard. A little more aggressive. It's a 2/1 vanilla for 1. So, I mean, it's a 2/1 for 1. It belongs in an aggressive white deck for sure. Does white weenies want this card, or are they happy with Thraben Inspector?
So I think it kind of depends. I have for a long time wanted just a Savannah Lions, which is what this is, in Pauper, because I don't think it's, a groundbreaking or like amazing body, but it does have a subtype soldier. There is that white weenie soldier deck that cropped up last year. I forget when it was, but there is a list for soldier white weenies. I think this one is going to take a while, but it is going to see some play. It's an aggressive stat line. It is 2 power with no drawback for 1 mana, and I think it's inevitable that this gets played in something. I'm just not sure what it is yet.
Still dies to Electricity.
Yes. Next we've got Mistral Charger.
This card's not good.
I don't think it's good, but I think, it exists. It's 1 and a white. It's a 2/1 flyer.
But I think this deck would rather play Squadron Hawk.
Yeah, you're going to want your Squadron Hawks.
Which does have a reprint.
This does trade with Delver, though.
That's true.
Which is a non-zero, thing. I don't think this is groundbreaking. It's, it's a pretty efficient flyer. And that's it. There is some deck out there that wants this, but I'm not sure what.
We also have a 2/1 flyer, the Pegasus, that can't attack unless you are attacking with something else.
Is that not a 2/2?
I don't know.
We've got other effects, like we've got War Falcon.
Yeah.
War Falcon is a 2/2 flyer for 1 white that can't attack unless you have a soldier or a knight or something. It's a very specific effect, and it kind of requires a little bit more hurdle jumping.
Next we have Monk Idealist, which is almost exactly Oromancer, except the trigger is not a maze, you pointed out earlier before this podcast.
If you have a deck that really was waiting for Oromancers 5 through 8, hoo boy, you got it.
Yep.
And
more like Moromancers, am I right?
But, like, what else can you say about this? It's another Oromancer. It's got really nice art. I like it.
It's very, very, very pretty.
Yeah, and, I can't think of any case where Cleric is relevant, and I don't know what the Oromancer's original typing is. I think this is basically Oromancer's 5 through 8.
Yeah.
And you play it accordingly.
Or heck, 1 through 4. Go nuts. This art's cool, better than Oromancer. I don't know, Oromancer does have that cool promo, though.
Also, Oromancer is Rebecca Guay art, which I do really like her stuff.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Next up, we've got Rally the Peasants.
Garbage. You're not playing this card, are you?
Really?
How could you play this card?
So, Rally the Peasants, 2 and a white. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn.
I mean,
and it flashes back for 2 and a red.
So that means what's playing this? Like a Cyborg deck? A Koldatha deck?
Yeah. I mean, Koldatha, Boros, sometimes needs to close out a game. And this is 2 Trumpet Blasts stapled together. I don't... It's not an overrun style mass pump, but I feel just the double utility out of it. It's a shame that it's not flashback in white as well, because white weenies would love that. White weenies would love, another efficient mass pump for when it gets a huge board state. But I think that Rally the Peasants is a fine thing. It does require a red-white deck as its home to be fully efficient, but I don't know. A Trumpet Blast is a Trumpet Blast is a Trumpet Blast. Like, it's a decent effect. Again, not earth-shattering, but I'll take it.
Now, this next card I actually like a lot. Cephalid Sage. The art is dope. It's basically Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders up in here. Or Day of the Tentacle for all you old-school point-and-click fans. But it says Threshold. As long as 7 or more cards in your graveyard, Cephalid Sage has, when Cephalid Sage enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards. And I think this could go into the combo deck that will not be named.
So okay, my thing about this is, that templating is weird as hell. I think there's a way to template that smoother, because...
This art is amazing, though.
I do like the art. I remember, I have fond Odyssey-related memories. But 4 mana for a 2/3 that only sometimes has a upside of one card?
I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's basically a repeatable. What's that card? The sorcery.
I don't. Is it? Oh, it's Dream Cache.
No,
Dream Cache is draw
I'm thinking
3,
of a real card.
two.
I'm thinking of the one where you discard a land or discard 2.
Oh, compulsive research.
Yeah, compulsive research. It's kind of a compulsive research, and then you can play it with Mnemonic Wall and flicker till you find the cards you want. Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm saying it could go in a deck like that. I think it's more of a combo card. I don't think it's like a straight up card.
But how bad does this card feel when you have 6 things in the graveyard and you top deck it? Like,
okay, maybe I don't know. I could see it as maybe a one of.
Yeah, it doesn't have a super attractive stat line, and again, like
it's a 2/3. I don't know if I said that.
If it's being played in combo, the stat line doesn't really matter. But I don't know. I'm not super thrilled by it. It's not a Muldrifter. That's the thing. Like, compare this to Muldrifter. Like, just think about that for a second. This is a situational Muldrifter that requires Threshold and is only netting you 1 card. So, like, Muldrifter as a top deck on an empty hand feels great. Cephalid Sage, on the other hand, is like, I guess this'll do?
Well, you're a Dream Crusher, Mike. Let's go to the next card. I'm done with this one.
Oh boy, this next one's not,
The next one's Glacial Wall, which, if you'll know, there is a Defender deck that plays Viridian Longbow and gives its creatures Death Touch and makes a lot of mana and kills a lot of things.
Good. It's not very good. So Glacial Wall, I took some notes before the show, and I just next to this I just wrote Sir Mix-a-Lot jokes because it's got a big butt.
No, it's a 0/7 for 3 with Defender. I don't even think you're gonna want to play this in limited. This card sucks.
I mean, in a control deck, sure, in limited, but like, it just is. That's incredibly lackluster.
Whatever. Let's get to the next card, which we're very excited about. Peregrine Drake.
Yep, got the downshift. It's part of that same weird vertical cycle from Urza's block with when it enters the battlefield, untap up to X lands, where X is the card's mana cost. A probably ill-advised decision, but this is the 5-drop version.
But the reason we're excited about this card is because it basically brings back Esper Familiars.
It does, and while I was not a huge fan of that deck, I think people have already been talking about the fact that this feels much fairer. It's 5 mana, It doesn't combo out as quickly. It does, interestingly enough, combo better with the whole Ghostly Flicker thing.
Well, because you're untapping more mana, you're netting more mana with each go-around.
Exactly.
Your opponent is less likely to fizzle this on Moto, I would say, once they get the combo going, but at least you won't have to wait around as long.
Yeah, and it got new art, which I'm kind of sold on. I kind of like this like weird kind of stained glass looking dragon that they went with, or Drake, excuse me.
Also a Talrand quote in the flavor text.
Yeah, no, they hit this one pretty well.
So,
and
5.
I think I'm happy with 5 being the turn they can combo off. Maybe 4.
I think we're looking at earliest turn 4 when you consider the Karoo lands. Maybe even earlier. Are they playing? Does this deck play Explore?
I don't think you play Explore. I've seen people discussing like the best way to make this. Like, is it still Esper? Do you go Simic so you can ramp and like turn 1 Search for Tomorrow, turn 2 Rampant Growth?
I think Simic Familiars is just fine. I mean, I guess you're missing out on like the white familiar.
Yeah.
But you're getting the combo with the Fertile Ground lands. And
well, we've got another reveal later that, helps alleviate a bit of the familiar pain.
Yeah. Next we got Stupefying Touch. Draw a enchant a creature for 2 mana. When Stupefying Touch enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creatures' activated abilities can't be activated.
Boo!
Now, that's good against Atog.
Yeah. Until they do it in response. If they have the fling.
Yeah, so this card is just bad.
I'd rather have a counterspell almost any day of the week.
Yeah, card's bad. Now, here's a card Mike likes next on the list. Tidal Wave.
I like it because it's weird. It's 2 and a blue instant, put a 5/5 blue wall token with Defender onto the battlefield, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step.
But that's very flavorful. You know, it's like the wave is coming up and then crashing down.
Yeah.
And you like it because it can kill Gurmag anglers.
Exactly. Like, it trades with an angler just fine.
I would say you should just be vapor snagging the angler.
I think that's totally legit. I think someone is going to figure out how to make Tidal Wave a really good card. I feel like it's just one of those weird effects where it's 3 mana for a 5/5. You only get it 1 turn. There's some weird thing. Like, we don't get end the turn effects, but, like, I don't know. This strikes me as something that has potential, and at the very least, it does a lot of the time give blue a card that just says, destroy target attacking Gurmag Angler.
That's true. I also like this art a lot. It looks like a trireme or something getting washed out. I don't know.
I'm not sure if that's the original or not. I think the original was like much more mirage art. That kind of very specific vibe that they had during that. All right, our next one is actually in reference to Peregrine Drake. It helps out that combo, Warden of Evos Isle.
Yep, got the rarity downshift from uncommon to common as a 3/2 bird wizard. Flyer, creatures with flying cost 1 less to cast. Do you think this finds a home in the Delver deck at all? I don't think so. I think 3 mana is a...
1 mana Spellstutter Sprites is cool.
Well, and it's also less mana for your Spire Golems.
So, I already saw someone tossing around an idea. How good does this feel with Squadron Hawk?
Blue-white Flyers?
Yeah. I mean...
So your Squadron Hawks cost W?
Yeah. I mean, it's something to consider.
Your core Skyfishers cost W.
Yeah, like there's a lot of pertinent flyers. I don't think Delver wants this because
maybe blue white flyers can become a deck then.
Yeah, I think there's a chance for something there. I think maybe this sees play in the assorted blue inclusive kitty decks. I don't know. It's an interesting build around that I don't think is gonna ruin the format or anything, but it does give us stuff to consider. If you've got enough flyers in your deck, you just kind of have to sit there and go, okay, is it worth splashing blue for Warden and like some draw cards? This with Muldrifter.
Oh yeah, Muldrifter costs less. Does this make Muldrifter's
Evoke
cost less?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a alternate casting cost. That's pretty sweet actually. And blue white flyers might be a thing.
I don't know. I'm cool with 2 mana draw 2 cards. That's pretty cool with me.
Speaking of 2 mana draw 2 cards, Night's Whisper is now common as well. For those of you not in the know, Night's Whisper is essentially Silent Blood, but without the cost of the extra black mana.
It's 1 and a black.
So you can play this in any deck that could play black. You don't need to restrict this to... So the problem with the other card, Silent Blood, is that it's basically restricted to mono black. But with this card, you could play this in the Mardu kitty deck.
Yeah.
Like it goes slots very nicely into that, I think.
I think that's the big thing. It also can't go upstairs to your opponent. Like everyone who's played mono black has that moment where you go, oh, my opponent's at 2. I drew a Sign in Blood. Sign in Blood targeting you.
Yeah.
And that is, a consideration. I don't think Night's Whisper goes into mono black. I think it goes into decks splashing black or that just really don't want to deal with the idea of having to hit double black turn 2 to get this great effect.
But I think it's a fine card. I think it will see play in the format. Drawing 2 for 2 is kind of the baseline, with Thoughtcast, Sign in Blood, Perilous Research, even Muldrifter in a way.
Yeah.
It's a little more expensive, but at least you might get a creature.
Yeah, so I think Night's Whisper is a great inclusion. I think that it does give a little bit more card draw to these decks just splashing black, and I think that's great. This was always one where, I was aware of Night's Whisper, and it was just that tiny... I was always like, it's just a tiny bit different from Sign in Blood. We could definitely see this at paper, or at common, excuse me, and... I should have brought it up last time. Like, this would have been a great outside call for our predictions episode.
Outside, you're funny.
Yeah.
Now, the next card you're very excited about, Prowling Pangolin.
Prowling Pangolin is the exact type of card I like to see. This is a mess.
It's a 5-drop, 6/5. Okay, that's fine. Mike, why don't you tell us what the card says?
So it says, when Prowling Pangolin enters the battlefield, any player may sacrifice 2 creatures. If a player does, sacrifice Prowling Pangolin. So this thing is, in my mind, either a cheap-ish 6/5, which is a hard-to-ignore body. Still trades with Angler, but...
It's one of that's creature is enormous for the format. 6/5.
Oh, yeah. It runs over everything in Affinity besides Atog.
That's a beater, yeah.
It's a huge goddamn body. And at worst, it's sometimes a one-sided barter in blood. Now, 5 mana is not exactly where I want to be for, a sack 2 creatures effect.
What about Mono Black Tron?
Mono Black Tron? The double black and the casting cost makes me wary of this. And that's kind of the issue I've always had, because I've seen the Mono Black Tron idea thrown around, and my big issue is always just the fact that black cards, when they start to go up in cost, start to get more mana symbols in them. And that's not good for Tron. Tron likes the 1 mana symbol. What I am excited for is slotting this into some dirtily garbage deck with Grim Harvest and recurring this thing on turn 20 just every turn to keep my opponent off creatures.
You don't like having fun, do you, Mike?
I mean, it's fun for me.
That's fair.
Up into a point.
The next one we got here is Wake Dancer. I don't think this will be seeing constructed play.
No, and interestingly enough, this is a downshift for Mitgo, but it actually did see a paper printing at common. It was in Conspiracy as a common.
Conspiracy's on Mitgo.
Conspiracy was not released on Mitgo because they can't get the Draft Matters cards to work.
Well, then how did
Vintage Masters? Vintage Masters is where a lot of the cards went.
I was about to ask, how did Will of the Council card get released? You know the one I'm talking about, the white one.
Yeah.
The Council of Judgment. There
Council
we go.
of Judgment, yes.
I was like, where did that card come from? Okay,
so,
Vintage Masters.
Wake Dancer seems unimpressive to me. It's 3 mana, 2 and a black, morbid. When it enters the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, get a 2/2 off.
It's potentially 3... Okay, so here's a scenario. It's potentially 3 mana for 4 power. But I'm sure there are better cards for this, but could you see this in a Tortured Existence deck where you're able to recur this while killing creatures maybe with, sack effects?
Okay, so let me hit you with this. Do you remember Undead Servant from Magic Origins?
Yeah.
The one that comes with a 2/2 for each copy of it in the bin?
That seems a lot better.
Exactly. I don't think Wake Dancer is going to make any huge sort of, ripples, if you will, in the format.
Next here we have Avarax, which is the red Aurochs. Instead of trample, though, it has haste. It is a 5-drop 3/3 with haste. When Avarax enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named Avarax, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library, and then it has a mediocre fire-breathing effect. I say mediocre because it costs 2 mana and not 1.
Yeah, so Avarax feels like, I don't know, it's kind of got the Squadron Hawk effect. It's got the worse, older version of it.
Have you noticed that Avarax sounds kind of like Lava Axe, and it's a 5 mana? I guess it doesn't do 5 damage, but sorry, keep going.
Yeah. But this is a reprint from, I believe, Onslaught, because it is a beast, and that was one of the tribes. It was the red-green tribe. I can't think of a red deck that wants this. Does Goblins ever want to get to 5 mana? Does, Burn ever want to play a 5 mana creature? Burn doesn't want to play creatures.
This deck doesn't exist yet. I think it's a fun card. I think it's a powerful card. I think a 3/3 with haste that tutors up another dude is not nothing. I just don't think there's a deck for it yet.
I think the only thing that's getting it there for me is the fact that it does have haste. Investing 5 mana in a non-flying 3/3, it's nice that it gets the attack when it comes down.
And it replaces itself. I don't know. I think that this card's deck just doesn't exist is the problem.
Yeah, I think it's a neat card. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm probably going to pick up a playset just to have around, to fool around with.
Next we have Carbonize. Carbonize is a 3-drop instant, deals 3 damage to target creature or player. That creature can't be regenerated. If that creature would die, blah, 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 exile it, sorry. Just totally uninterested. We have Lightning Bolt.
We have Lightning Bolt. We have Incinerate, which gets all of us except the Exile it instead.
Yeah, just don't care.
No, this is an unimpressive card for this format because we're eternal. We get good burn. We get quote unquote the big boy burn.
Now here's an interesting card. Desperate Ravings has been downshifted to a common, and that's pretty good.
All right, so 1 in a red, instant, draw 2 cards, discard a card at random, flashback for 2 in a blue.
I mean, that's a card, dude.
So, okay, here's the interesting thing. It does discard at random. So, you're not seeing this in a Reanimator thing. Does Delver Fiend want this?
I was going to say, this seems like a Delver Fiend card to me so that they can gas back up. Maybe not like super ideal. Like, they already run so many cantrips anyway. Maybe it's not very good because we were a preordained Ponder format.
Yeah, I don't know. I want this to be good. It's just that the discard at random is so painful.
And then if you're the red deck that wants to be doing this, you're playing Tormenting Voice. The only thing that I can really see going for this card is that it's an instant and it has flashback.
Okay, so does Jeskai Kitty want this? Does Jeskai Kitty maybe want this as a refuel mechanic?
I could see that. They're not getting any value off the discard, but then again, I don't know.
Well, I think playing this on an empty hand feels fine.
Because you're getting 1 card, or 2 cards rather, from it in total. Yeah. But then it's like, Think Twice is better, right?
Yeah.
Those decks aren't playing Think Twice.
I don't know. I think Desperate Ravings will find a home. I'm not sure if it's quite good enough. It's an interesting riff on Tormenting Voice, if nothing else.
Yeah. Next we have Dragon Egg. And Mike, what did you write for Dragon Egg in your notebook?
What did I write for
I believe you wrote unimpressive.
I wrote no real home, unimpressive.
All right.
Which I guess you could put this in a aristocrat style thing. There was that black-green aristocrats deck.
Don't even think it would go in that.
No, it's
pretty terrible.
It's an 0-2 defender for 2 in a red. And when it dies, you get a 2-2
You get a Dragon Whelp.
Yeah, you get a Dragon Whelp. It's not good. The fact that this is just now being a common is frankly shocking. Can you imagine?
I think it was decent. It's decent and limited. It gives you a blocker that becomes an evasive creature. It's not terrible. It's not great.
I guess.
But I've played it.
Oh boy. All right. The next one actually has made some waves already. There is
Curd Ape.
There's 50 comments about goddamn Curd Ape on the Pauper subreddit.
We're not really that into Curd Ape, though. A 2-3 is that's a nice body. Sometimes it's a 2-3. But we think that the fact that this card doesn't have evasion kind of hurts it. Like, most creatures in our format can block this card pretty easily. Or deal with it in an easy way.
So, yeah. I think the big thing is this, much like Wild Nacatl, they are great in formats with dual lands that have the land types.
Yes.
Modern Curd Ape is fine. Wild Nacatl's great.
Even then, though, I don't think Curd Ape is amazing in Modern.
Yeah, no, but it's an efficient beater. The catch is we don't have access to those duels with land types. So Curd Ape is a 1-1 until your second turn. And that's, either you drop a forest or, get an Ilea's Presence, which you actually need a forest for anyway. Domain Zoo is not a deck that I think is going to be a real deck anytime soon.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that Curd Ape will see play, but I just don't see it impacting the numbers, really.
And I'm willing to be proven wrong on this one.
Don't get us wrong. We want to like Curd Ape. The original Arabian Nights printing, of course. That's the best one. Yeah. It's just like a sad-looking monkey.
I don't know. This is Therese Nielsen art. I am like a huge sucker for Therese Nielsen art. Which, by the way, as a side note, I am so glad they let her put her artwork all over this set. Like, there are so many pieces by her in this.
Pretty tight. So next we have Orcish Oriflamme, which is probably not seeing play. Goblin Bushwhacker's better. It's a red and 3 colorless. Attack creatures you control get +1/+0. Just 4 mana for a red enchantment. I don't see that same play. It's cool art though. I like this goblin.
This is like 1 or 2 mana too much for this effect.
Now, interesting bit of trivia for those of you who don't know, this was misprinted with just a red mana symbol originally, and back then they ruled that you could play the card for the mana cost on the card.
At 1 red, who boy.
And yeah, at red, this card is astounding.
Yeah.
It's just always Signal Pest.
Yeah, it's very subpar, and I'm upset that they went with. I think that's the 7th edition art on it.
I didn't realize they reprinted it. Then I like this art. I mean, it's not just the skull. The skull is the best one.
Yeah, the skull has that certain je ne sais quoi of old magic.
Next, we have Undying Rage, a 3-drop enchantment. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and can't block. When Undying Rage is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its hand. So it's like the red Rancor, but I mean, would you play this in your mono red heroic deck?
I was actually about to say, I'm thinking about it because
over Madcap Skills.
I don't run Madcap Skills in my deck,
but I don't think this card is better than Madcap Skills.
Okay, so hear me out on this. For a while, when Mono Red Heroic first kind of made a splash on the scene, Aaron from our local play group showed up with it. He was running, oh god, what is it? There's an enchantment from
Infectious Bloodlust.
No. We're delving deep on this one. It's like I'm gonna look it up here. I want to say it's called Mark of Fury or something.
Oh, yeah, I know that card.
It's
basically the same thing, except it doesn't have this last clause here of going back to your hand, does it?
No. Mark of Fury is a 1 red enchantment from Urza's Destiny. Enchanted creature gains haste. Big for that deck. At the end of turn, return Mark of Fury to its owner's hand. It repeatedly triggers both the prowess and the heroic. I think Undying Rage is a similar kind of effect. Right now, I'm running Furor of the Bitten as a 4-of. It's 1 red, enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and must attack each turn if able. Undying Rage makes it so you can't block, but it also means you don't kind of have to keep bashing in with your dude.
Yeah, I don't care as much about the can't block because you're the aggressive red deck. I care more that it costs 3 mana.
Yeah, I think that's what kills this for me. I think that, I don't know, this could find a home somewhere. I like the fact that it's got the Rancor thing stapled to it, but Rancor costs 1 green, and that's why Rancor is good, and this is not Rancor by a sight.
Next we have Wildfire Emissary, which is a red 4-drop with protection from white and bad fire breathing. It's red and 3 colorless for a 2/4. We're not playing this card. Why?
Did they just go through and decide that every single red card with fire breathing gets like this 1 in a red fire breathing instead?
Yeah,
have you noticed that?
Yeah, I don't know. The bad fire breathing is bad. Also, a 4-drop and red with pro white does not seem to be where that card wants to be.
No,
or that deck wants to be.
This is a relic of a forgotten age. This is
now. Don't get me wrong.
Pro
color used to be a very powerful mechanic, and it still is a very powerful mechanic.
Sure,
but you need protection from like something at will. You need protection from red in our format.
Yeah,
or you need protection from like all colors, like Etch Champion or something. You know, just protection from white's not really going to cut it, especially since protection from white doesn't get around or circle protection red.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. So
it's just an unimpressive card. Ooh boy!
Yes.
Oh, this next one,
Elvish Vanguard.
Well, actually, I'm going to tell a quick aside from F&M. I got my ass handed to me by a probably 12-year-old playing elves, and I'm not looking forward to playing against this because I'm not a fan of elves. Elvish Vanguard used to be a rare and is now a common.
And that's sort of keeping in theme with the green commons of this set. A lot of downshifts from rare to common.
Yep, as I said, creatures have gotten much better. So
this card is very good. It's a 2-drop, 1/1, so that's not impressive. But whenever another elf enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on Elvish Vanguard. And elves, as we know, is full of elves.
Yeah, I really, really would hate to see this drop and then Lissalana Huntmaster a couple turns later.
Now, the good news is... So, the bad news is this is Timberwatch Elf by itself.
Yes.
Like, that's the bad news. The good news is it doesn't have trample or anything.
It doesn't have evasion. It does live through a shrivel or an even Car's Justice. That's what worries me about this in terms of elves' playability.
It might not. If they play it on turn 2, I guess you're kind of boned. But if they play it on turn 4 and you have it in your hand, and they don't play any more elves, you can kill it, you know?
Yeah. I don't think it's an unbeatable threat. I do think.
I mean, Bolt handles it reasonably well.
Yeah.
Doomblade, of course. Journey to Nowhere. Like, we have removal in our format to deal with it.
Sure.
But I'm not saying it's not an extremely powerful card. It is.
Now, some people have said that this is a win more. I don't think it's a win more for the exact reason of this often lives through our versions of Wrath effects.
And I don't think it's a win more because Timberwatch Elf is the win condition for that deck, and this card is just Timberwatch Elf, but by itself, and you don't have to tap the Timberwatch Elf.
And it's permanent.
And now you don't have the shenanigans of Kyrian Ranger where it's like untap Timberwatch Elf, tap Timberwatch Elf again, but this guy... it has staying power. He becomes a big dude.
Also, you're not cutting your Timberwatch Elf for this guy. This guy next to Timberwatch Elf is terrifying. That's a one-shot.
Yeah, this card is pretty good.
Yeah.
Next, we have another rarity downshift from rare to common. We have Emperor Crocodile. This card is not good, in my opinion. It's worse than Angler, and it has a drawback. Sure, it's a 4-drop.
It's
but
4-drop 5/5. When you control no other creatures, sack it.
I just don't think that's very good. Like, I just can't think of the deck that would play this. I think the green deck, Stompy, which is the premier green deck of the format,
Stompy doesn't want
cannot
this.
play this card. Stompy operates on 2 or 3 mana at the most.
Okay, so again, I've been paying attention to the spoilers pretty closely. Some people pointed out we're nearing a pretty high density of 4-drop 5/5s in green. We have Emperor Crocodile, Imperiosaur, and Blastoderm.
And 2 of those, I've never seen Imperiosaur, and Blastoderm is like fringe playable.
Yeah, so I think this could be good. I don't think it's good right now, especially because, oh man, like, I do think it's interesting that it gets kind of around Edict effects, because if you have this and another creature, this guy doesn't feel as bad sacking, because if you sack the other dude, the Croc's going anyway.
But then it's like, why would I want to play this creature in my deck?
Yeah, I think it's great that they are downshifting these old rares to common, because Emperor Crocodile, look at that. It was printed as a rare a bunch of times, and we're sitting here.
Only non-rare printing, yeah.
And we're sitting here saying, is this good enough for the format of all commons? And
the answer is no. Yeah,
really.
Well, if it did not have this drawback, I think the card would be playable.
Well, that's Imperiosaur. Imperiosaur is 2 and a pair of green, and you can only pay for its mana cost with basics.
Okay, that's good in our format, and that's better than Blastoderm. Blastoderm, well, it has Shroud, but also is fading. So
Shroud is very big on that 5/5.
And here we have an amazing reprint, Nimble Mongoose. Look at him killing that Cobra.
The goose is loose.
Yeah, you've been
man,
You've been waiting all night to say that, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been waiting all night to say the goose is loose.
I mean, the goose is loose. Look at this dude. Finally, we have the 1-drop Shroud 1/1 with Threshold +2/+2.
Oh boy!
And Werebear's being reprinted in this set too. Could Green Threshold be a deck?
So I have seen a lot of brewing around it, because this was our first Pauper spoiler. It was given to Alex Ullman. That is a huge. I'm thankful that Wizards decided we will give a day 1 spoiler for Pauper, and on top of that, it's a card that used to be a legacy powerhouse.
They should just call this set Pauper Masters. That's what it feels like.
I mean, we got a ton of cool stuff. Nimble Mongoose, I think, lives in a hyper-aggressive deck that can fill the bin quickly.
Like a green-red burn good creature, like the Curd Ape deck, maybe.
Yeah. I think that you just want to put this in some,
because the Curd Ape deck's playing fetch lands. This belongs in a deck with fetches.
It belongs in a deck with fetches. I think it belongs in a deck with red, because you get stuff like Faithless Looting, you get Tormenting Voice.
And then you can play it with efficient cards like Firebolt, or like things you can flash back later. I mean, I know that's a bit of a nombo with Threshold, but
cards are going to keep hitting your graveyard.
Would you play this in Tortured Existence?
Would I play this in Tortex? I don't.
There's not enough utility on the creature, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about this earlier before we were recording, and Tortex is kind of a perpetual tier 1.5, tier 2 deck, where it's almost good enough, and if you get the right matchups, it seems great. I don't think it just wants a Shroud 3/3.
Right.
I think it's much rather, dredging into a Gurmag Angler.
It's a Nombo with Gurmag Angler.
But yeah, the Goose, very real. I am very excited to see what this does. I am very excited to pick up my playset, both of the new art and the old art, because the old art is, again, a Therese Nielsen special.
Next we have Sylvan Might. Instant, target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Green and a 1, not impressive. Flashback for 4. Not playing this card. No.
Hear me out on this. I think that this is an interesting. It's not a great pump spell. Hold this up against Giant Growth, and it doesn't seem super great. It does grant trample, and
that is nice.
And it does have flashback, so you get 2 uses.
So you're thinking maybe Stompy could use this spell. But then Stompy has access to
Rancor.
Yeah, and another great 2-drop spell called Vines of the Vastwood. Maybe you're familiar.
Well, Vines doesn't give trample. I think that's a very big difference. Like, as soon as you start tacking trample onto something, I think that it does get much better. Like, this will let you punch through. Does Elves like this? Because Elves' big issue is always,
This is only one creature, though.
So? You target the one that you're hitting with your Timberwatch.
I don't know. Elves goes wide, though. So you can pick whichever one they don't block.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying, I don't want to write this one off because we don't have a lot of trample granting instants that aren't Teamer Battle Rage. And Flashback always appeals to me. Just like 2 uses out of a spell always feels a little bit better.
Next we have Yavimaya Enchantress. This looks like it's our last card actually on this list.
Yeah.
Which is, we were talking about this earlier, Bad Aura Gnarlid.
Yeah, 2 and a green. Gets +1/+1 for each enchantment on the battlefield. It's a 2/2. It's Aura Gnarlid without the text about
evasion.
Can't be blocked by creatures with power less than it. So, I had seen some people, talking about this card, and some people had offered up the idea of, a ramp deck that uses the ramp enchantments like Wild Growth and Market Festival and that kind of thing. And just ramps into, like, these aggressive, like, creatures that just get bigger with more enchantments. And then eventually ramps into, I don't know, Ulamog's Crusher. Because that's, the logical endpoint. Or Walker of the Grove.
Ulamog's Crusher is a good card.
Yeah, like, I think there's something there. I don't think it goes in Boggles. I think maybe you see it as a one-of in Boggles if, like, the meta calls for it. But I guess... How about this? Do you feel like Boggles might run a couple of these just to make their opponents question whether to leave targeted removal in?
No, that's juking a little too hard. I think.
I
don't think you should play mind games at the expense of the quality of your deck.
True. And
I think Aura Gnarlid is just better.
So also consider that that's a deck that already has multiple copies of trample granting enchantments. Because if that thing gets trample.
But you want to put your enchantments on the hexproof guys.
Sure.
I don't know. I think Aura Gnarlid is good because it gets evasion and you don't have to actually suit it up. But I think that Yavimaya Enchantress is not as good because it doesn't have the evasion. So I don't know. I don't think I would play it just to juke my opponent into maybe leaving in spot removal.
Okay. Yeah. I just think that this does have a home, and I think it's a powerful effect. Yes. I did see, I don't know if you saw this, Mesa Enchantress, the one of the famous Enchantress effects where, you draw a card whenever you play an enchantment.
Yeah, downshifted to uncommon.
Downshifted to uncommon, and at first it was like, oh man, I wanted to play Enchantress. Then I realized, oh, I don't ever want to play against Boggles when they draw a card every time they cast something.
Nope, no thank you. Not interested.
I don't want Rancor to be a 2-for-1 when it goes to the graveyard. Oh boy, no.
Yeah. They feel bads.
I realized pretty quickly that was a mistake of me to ever think that. But I guess, so what would be your favorite out of this set? Like, new cards. What's your favorite new thing that we got?
That we just went over? Let me scroll back through here.
Because I am a big fan of the Goose. I like the Mongoose. I like Humble.
I'm going to say Nimble Mongoose is my favorite.
And Prowling Pangolin just gets my award for, the card that I can't wait to let my opponents read and ask me why the hell I would play it.
I think Nimble Mongoose and actually Peregrine Drake, because I think the familiar combo deck had a place in our metagame. It was just too powerful the way it was.
Yes. I think Peregrine Drake also does feel like it can get played other places.
You're talking about the mono blue Tron list that included the card.
This feels fine in Tron, as a late game option, just to ramp up that super huge Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, why not?
Oh boy. But yeah, I guess I'm really happy with this set. I have no complaints except...
Well, one of the big complaints about Pauper is that we generally get drip-fed maybe 1 or 2 commons a set, and then even then a lot of them are debatable.
and we just got a huge shot in the arm. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get a Chainer's Edict reprint, just because that card is creeping up there in price for paper.
It's like $6. Last time I
Dude,
looked.
$6. That's absurd. It's because of a buyout, and a Battle Screech printing wouldn't have hurt either, because that's a $3-4 card now. So, I'm really happy with this. Like, I was really ready to see, like, 3 downshifts and have 2 of them not matter. And instead we got, like, 20-odd downshifts, and a lot of them are pretty cool. Like,
we haven't even gotten to some of the other, like, the upshifts, like the Days and the Blast reprints.
Oh, yeah.
We'll drop those price like a stone on Moto, make everyone able to play all the good cards.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to see where Delver settles on its number of dazes now that it's going to be affordable. Because
I don't think it's 4, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, well, a lot of the times I've seen lists on like MTG Goldfish where they're running like a one of days, and a lot of people chalk that up to it being a really expensive card, and I don't know, like they've already dropped significantly.
Yeah,
they've already halved in price.
Days is $8. It was like 23 earlier this week or something. Crazy.
Like I think that the reprints do nothing but help the accessibility of this format. Days went down. Pyro and Hydroblast both got reprints, which, by the way, look stellar.
I cannot wait to get those in foil.
Oh, yeah. No, like, I would say, actually, as someone who wasted 5 years of my life in art school, the art director for this deserves a goddamn pay raise. You can say whatever you want about this set, but you cannot say it is an unattractive set. So, I don't know. They gave us some shoutouts. They didn't turn it into just, a bunch of Pauper reprints. I'm kind of glad they didn't reprint Oubliette. As much as I don't like the fact that is only a $25 card, I feel like there would have been backlash for that, just because it probably would have gotten shifted up to uncommon because of complexity, and people would have said, why this instead of a good uncommon?
But, whatever. Yeah, you're right, I don't know. I mean, but then they put there's some junk uncommons in here. There's always going to be junk cards in every set. Yeah. Not all of them are winners.
But I think, we both dabble in Legacy from time to time. Like, are you upset about this as a Legacy player?
Not really. Like, they reprinted a lot of cards that I've never seen a reprint. I don't understand why people don't like it. I mean, I think you said it best earlier. People don't like that they didn't reprint the one card that they were looking for their Legacy deck.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of backlash to this, and I think a lot of it is unearned. And on top of that, I think we just had a great set released for us.
There's one kind of a weird one. I think Mana Crypt is kind of weird because Mana Crypt is restricted and banned in Commander.
No, it's not banned in Commander.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's fine.
It's a Commander card.
I thought it was banned in Commander, but it's like restricted in Vintage. You can't play it. It's banned in Legacy. I think that's right.
Oh yeah.
You can't play it like.
They don't let you have Soul Ring. They don't let you have free Soul Ring. Definitely.
That's fair.
I think I wouldn't have minded seeing less obvious EDH reprints. I don't think anyone is getting Mana Crypt for any other reason. Like, I don't think anyone's going, I wasn't thinking about getting into Vintage, but now that I see that Mana Crypt is
the least of your worries, honestly.
Yeah, no one is holding off getting into Vintage because Mana Crypt is a little pricey. But, people were obviously a little mad that Rashad and Port didn't get reprinted because that is absurdly expensive on MitGo. But you gotta remember, we got Conspiracy 2 coming out later this year.
Electric Conspiraloo?
Conspiracy 2 Electric Boogaloo.
I know, I was trying to be funnier.
Starring Dank Faded.
Yeah, it's Dank Faded.
I'm really reaching on this one. It's a little on the late side.
I wonder what commons we'll get from that set. That'd be sweet.
So I don't know if we got any real downshifts last time. So I'm not holding out on like the downshift game. I am hoping that we get some cool originals, and maybe they figure out a way to make it work on MitGo. People talked on the last set about like Custody Squire. It's the voting one that gets something back from your graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
That's not great though.
it's not great, but it comes attached to a 3/3 flyer for 5.
That's true.
Like, that's pretty much par for what you get for 5 mana and a flyer. So, I still have high hopes of seeing cool stuff in these other sets, because we've got a lot of sets to get
there's
through.
a lot of nice looking sets coming out. Wizards, I think, is really gearing it up, and I don't know what, someone lit a fire under them, and I think it's paying off. EMA looks sweet. We have another conspiracy set. We just hit those things. Kaladesh looks nice. I like that we're going back to an artifact plane, because I need some spicy new affinity stuff.
Well, yeah, affinity hasn't really gotten much in the way of quality new toys to play with, and
Not since Scars, really.
yeah, I think that Kaladesh might be a chance, and I feel like Wizards has very much realized that maybe affinity was a mistake, and
Nonsense.
and maybe they need to be very careful about balancing artifacts.
More Metalcraft.
Actually, I have a question. What do you do? Like, how hard do you as a person freak out if they say, we're reprinting artifact lands? Like, obviously, like, crazy town.
Like, that I'm now upset that I've spent all this money on the foils? Is that what you mean?
I just meant like, would you start drafting this, or like, would you consider
I already know.
standard?
Yeah, standard I would definitely consider.
Ooh, okay.
Well, because
okay.
I played the blue-red Insult deck when it was in standard. I liked that deck. That deck was basically affinity.
God, I kind of wish that we got an Ensol artifact as a common at some point.
I am super glad this little artifact is not a common.
Yeah,
That would be a little too good, in my opinion.
I just want something that interacts with Trinket Mage more. Like, I want to beat someone to death with an Executioner's Capsule.
I don't know that.
To be fair, I'm not, part of R&D. I don't have, years of experience as to how to balance anything. Like,
You just
I
want
just have dreams.
You just want what's sweet.
Yeah, no, here's my thing that I've always said. As long as the playing field is somewhat balanced, I don't care if everyone's doing busted things. Like, I don't care if, for example, I don't feel like a format where every deck is a turn 4 combo deck that's somewhat interactive is necessarily a bad thing, because you still have a variety of play options. I don't know, like, I don't feel like high power is a problem. I feel like uneven power is a much bigger problem. Like, when there's something like the Dark Days of Affinity, where you played Affinity, like, full stop, you just gotta played Affinity. That's not fun. But if, let's say, back in Mirrodin, each color had, like, a different take on Affinity.
They tried with the golems.
But, like, if they took that further, where, like, green interacted in a very specific way with Affinity, and, like, red got a very special type of Affinity bonus, then that would have been a more diverse and interesting meta. It just would have been Affinity everywhere. It just would have been 5 different flavors of Affinity. So, I think I don't mind a high-power environment. Obviously, I don't think Kaladesh is going to break everything wide open. I have a feeling we're not going to see artifact lands. We're not going to see any sort of, like, new groundbreaking stuff. We're probably just going to see 1 or 2 really efficient beaters.
Maybe some Thopter generators.
Yeah, I'm cool with Thopters, I love me some Thopter Foundry. Ooh, maybe that could be a spicy little reprint. Thopter Foundry, no Sword of the Meek.
Yeah, I could see that. That'd be sweet.
Well, I mean, we know very little about the plane. Like, we know it's where Chandra's from, and we know
there's Thopter makers.
Yeah.
Thopty people.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff we got in Origins is pretty cool. Hangerback Walker is played in Vintage.
I have my playset.
Really? Nice. Did you get them before they spiked?
Yeah, I got them, like, right when they came out. I think I maybe paid, like, 7 each. I don't know what they are now.
Oh, man. There were people who made out like villains. That thing was pre-selling for $2.
Oh. I mean, I don't know what they are now. I probably didn't make any money.
Yeah, but
I have them.
So, yeah. Let's just close this one out. It's getting a little on the late side, but goddamn.
Yeah,
EMA
we're very happy with the set.
Home run.
And we'll be back next week with our normal content, our deck techs, and our more in-depth F&M reviews. But we just really wanted to stop over late night, geek out about the set a little. So we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you guys like EMA as much as we do, because I think, and I know Mike thinks, it's an amazing set, and we're very fortunate that maybe Wizards is starting to pay a little bit of attention to the Pauper community.
Yeah, actually, one of the things that you can do if you want Wizards to know that we appreciated this is go to Twitter, go to social media, and Mark Rosewater's on Twitter. You can just @Maro. He's got some numbers at the end, but if you let these people know, hey, I play Pauper. You guys did an amazing job with the rarity down.
Also, Color Commentary is my favorite podcast.
Please don't harass Mark Rosewater. He's a very tiny man. He's 4'10". He's like a blessed little fairy who brings us the magical cards. Yeah.
But we got some brief credits here. Special thanks to L for the use of his theme song, Quantitative. You can find that and more great tracks at www.soundcloud.net/LLL.
We can be reached online. We are on Twitter and Facebook under Color Commentary. Follow us there. I'm on Twitter fairly frequently.
Yeah, Mike handles the Twitter.
I shoot stuff back and forth.
If you like our content, subscribe to us on any of those locations. If you didn't like our content, make sure to tell your enemies to subscribe there as well.
We're also on iTunes.
Yes.
So if you've got an iDevice, you can take us with you wherever you want. We can you can have the annoying voices of two semi-grown man children just right in your ear.
Our voices are beautiful. Also, we have a new feature on the site with a contact us form. You no longer need to email us at colorcommentary@gmail.com, although you can if you want. But if you type anything into that form, it will be sent straight to that email. So send us your deck ideas, send us any topics you'd like us to discuss. We're always looking for feedback. We want to produce content that you guys want to listen to, about our favorite format. So don't send us anything other than that. But
also, EMA has come out. If you want to interact with us, tell us your favorite comment out of the set or your favorite reprint. Maybe you were really waiting on those daisies to come down, but also, since we always accept brews, any brews with EMA related stuff, I might bump up a little bit. We might get to those sooner.
Make us the Emperor Crocodile deck.
Yeah, do it. Prove Adrian wrong. Show him that it can work.
But this has been Adrian Gonzalez
and Michael Petchek,
and we are Color Commentary. Have a good night, guys.